Yeah, good afternoon. So my name's Todd. I started a company called Overdose around about 2 years ago. I'd been in multiple other e-commerce environments, and we started this business with the intention to take a really contrarian view to the market as to what it meant to be partners or an agency or how you service that economy. So we've grown from the two of us that started it. So we're a team of about 80 guys now across Auckland. I'm a POM, I'm British, but I live in New Zealand now. We've got offices in Melbourne, Sydney, Kiev, and George has recently started a little office up here in Singapore. So one of my key roles that I do day in, day out is coaching CEOs, managing directors, entrepreneurs of how to engage digital and commerce into their brands. And one of the key things that comes back from this is something that we've defined as the empathy economy. Now, you've seen some amazing tool sets. Rowan here showed you .mailer. Every one of those tool sets is never a silver bullet for your business. Everything comes back to how you engage with that consumer, okay? So getting re-centralized with that consumer, re-centralized with that product, avoiding some of the bullshit that goes with all of this, okay? So I'm gonna talk you through some of our learnings, our experiences with high growth, high speed environments, and how we've helped a few other companies readdress and reset where they exist in the market. So I'd like to get your attention. So we'll start with some half-naked ladies. It's always a good start. So this is about what's the difference between EQ and IQ. Okay, so EQ, empathy, is talking about the benefits of the product. Did I just get shot? And the IQ is talking about your features. Okay, so we see a lot of brands that come to us and say, Todd, but I've got this t-shirt and it's made with better cotton. It's $5 cheaper than the other one, but we just can't sell it. And Uniqlo's just killing us, right? Now, this is from a very old thing in the 70s and 80s, which was about Cuban cigars. Now, Cuban cigars, the last thing you want to talk about is the fact that they pretty much stink. They'll give you lung cancer. So they came up with the concept of, we're going to talk about these rolled-on virgin thighs. Now, believe me, there's some health and safety aspects if they are rolled on virgin thighs, and they don't come out in that. But essentially what they're doing is they're talking about the benefits. How can I embrace this into my life? How can I make this something which really engages me with my societal aspects? One of my favorite quotes, okay? Strive not to be of success, but strive to be of value, okay? The dollars will come, the money will come, but you have to recenter around that consumer. So, this is a little brand. Now, I've chosen to talk about some of our smaller brands that we work with today as opposed to some of our bigger. So, Rose and Thorn, little Kiwi bra company. They spun out of a big company called Bendon, and they were in that exact same situation. They hired the best bra designer in the world. They had a cheaper product. It was more accessible. It was available in more colors. Now, they let an SEO company write all their adverts, and this is how they read their adverts. Properly fitted bras, super comfort fashion bras, only $24.99, shop online today. Bra shapes for every woman, excellent value and quality, great fitting bras. How dull is that, right? Now, I doubt there's a woman in the room who would look at that and go, yeah, that's where I want to be. So what we've done is we've spoken about features, right? And if you went through their website, first things they spoke about was free delivery. We've got 5 shapes. We used price as one of the first things we spoke about this product. We re-engineered this and we started talking about the benefits of how a woman wanted to feel. They wanted comfort, they wanted to be feminine, they wanted confidence, empowerment, style. They wanted you to exude product knowledge. They wanted to be desirable and they wanted the product to be desirable. And they wanted to trust in that brand. So we reframed that language. Gain the comfort, style, and confidence of a professionally fitted Rose and Thorn bra, the leaders in bra fitting technology. Okay? One very, very small nugget, but we went through their entire digital consumer journey in terms of how this translates into a user experience. Now, this little startup, we picked them up probably about 2 years ago. They've just hit their first $1 million year. Okay? And all of this was from stopping talking about the features, but start talking about the benefits. Now, I'm just going to go back a few slides here. This is really key. We buy the benefits, we rationalize the features, okay? So this doesn't mean don't talk about the features. It's understanding where you are on that journey as to where those right communications need to have, okay? So My wife came to me the other day and said, I found these boots that I want to buy. $400 boots. Now, why did she want them? Well, firstly, because they were kind of expensive, and she just really bloody liked them, right? Now, how did she explain that to her husband? But they're made with the best leather. This celebrity's worn them. She used the features to rationalize and justify the purchase. But at the end of the day, she wanted what she loved, okay? So, features will never, ever, ever supersede benefits, okay? So if you find yourself in that position where all you're talking about is price, availability, quantity, you've actually already lost, okay? Now, who drives a BMW? Put your hands up. No one drives a BMW. Who drives an Audi? Yes, Audi people. Now, this is really interesting, okay? So this advert on the left, this is a Malaysian BMW advert. Advert on the right is an Australian Audi advert. Now, when I was growing up, Audi were the most boring corporate cars. It was what retired accountants used to drive. But they repositioned this to be a damn sexy vehicle. Now, this product here, the BMW. So we've spoken about, we've got 50-50 weight distribution. Imagine that, a car that's got 50% of the weight on one side and 50% of the weight on the other. Wow, I want one of those, a car that doesn't fall over. Absolute crap that they speak about here. However, it's not wrong, because there is absolutely a consumer set that love this, okay? It's incredibly loaded with features and it's unbelievably priced. Features and price, okay? The backside to this is that BMW have still got a pretty classy and sexy piece of kit that works, okay? Audi were repositioning themselves. Half truth, full truth. Their full truth reads, good is the enemy of great, okay? So this is really an interesting aspect of where EQ and IQ, neither are wrong, but you need both in balance to make sure that conversion happens. So I like this concept of laying breadcrumbs. Now, Nick spoke earlier about this having a unified channel, okay? So there is this basic consumer expectation now that wherever I am as a consumer, your brand is supposed to be as well, okay? I was having a conversation recently with one of our clients who sells high-end tapware. He was like, we spent so much money on Pinterest, I just don't like the whole thing, right? It just doesn't work. But there's consumers there who want to convert, so you need to be there. So, be present, relinquish control, and hold hands, okay? This is what we coach through. So, I didn't touch it. Relinquishing control. You have to let the consumer drive the path to conversion that they want, okay? This concept of the vertical funnel doesn't exist, okay? So Nick talked this morning about where there was this single linearity of conversion that happened in the 80s, 90s, 2000s. We're now in this hugely disrupted space. You cannot push your consumer through one of those channels. You have to let them choose their journey. And holding hands is literally just being nice people, right? Just talking to your consumer. So I had, again, telling stories, one of my CEOs, they own a big 50-store ladies shoe brand. And he was complaining that his conversion rates were low. Okay, so you know, we're only on 2%, what's going on? So we started tracking through a few of their consumers, and we started asking questions. We asked permission, and we started going through how people had converted. And this is a really interesting story of a lady who'd never seen the brand before, and how she bought her first $250 pair of shoes. So her very first thing was that she'd read a blog. She then did a generic Google search term. Now, this shoe company, they make shoes specifically if you've got bunions or wide feet or some dodgy feet like that. So we found some beautiful blog content. We did some great SEO. Came down, had a live chat on the website. Didn't quite understand the product. Is this the one for me? Abandoned. Okay? She then came back onto Instagram. This bit blew our mind. Okay? So this is a 65-year-old female. She was on the gram. Okay? She was active on Instagram. She was actually following an older celebrity chef, okay? And we positioned this product on an older celebrity chef. She then inadvertently read a friend's review. It wasn't actually on Yelp. She then got her abandoned cart email, which had come through here. She went back to the website, saved the product to the wish list. We then tracked it all the way through to a store finder. She used the store finder, and she came in store and converted. Now, for all of you digital marketers in the room, we've done about 8 amazing pieces of work there to drive a conversion. And she's come in store, and the store manager looks like an absolute hero because she sold this pair of shoes to a qualified consumer. So the art of digital here is what we're trying to communicate. It's not necessarily in generating an online conversion. It's generating a qualified consumer that may come in store. So what we're seeing in the Australian and New Zealand markets is that the footfall coming through stores is down, okay? It's down everywhere. All the malls are a little bit quieter, but the rents are going up. What's happening is that the consumers are going in more qualified. So they're doing their research, okay? So we've got some really advanced consumers now. One of them being on Magento, and they're integrated into their app, and they've now got beacons in store. So they're going to this next level of now trying to understand what is the physical engagement that digital is driving. Okay, so we drive you from social to website to app. We're then tracking you on the app. You come in store, we pick you up on a beacon. That beacon alerts the person who's doing live chat, and the person who's doing live chat is actually the person who runs the shop. It's not a customer service person at headquarters. It's actually someone who understands the product and is selling. So there is paths here where you can close that entire loop. It's pretty bloody hard, but you can get there. Okay, so here's some of the current playbook and where we're trying to move stuff through. So we talked about a linear path to purchase. This is the intent of, I've run a Facebook ad, and I justify my Facebook ad just on my return on ad spend, just on my conversion. We're removing that, and we're looking at a multi-channel engagement. So trying to track all those individual touch points. Vertical funnel doesn't exist. It's a distributed ecosystem. So they're dropping in and out of intent, okay? So a lot of people have this assumption that if I've gone from Instagram onto your website and then I've come back to social, that means I've disengaged. Far from it. You're just in control. You've just gone through a different step in that journey, okay? And they're in control of each of those little touch points. Moving from mass media to intent-based content. Rowan spoke about this beautifully. So this is not serving them the same content all of the time just because they've come back to the website. So there's a plethora of tools you can pick up that will understand if they've abandoned a category, then that should drive what is your next form of engagement and which channel they want to be consuming that on. And we're moving from, this is my biggest bugbear, if you run your company and you have a line item on your GL that says e-commerce revenue, you're doing it wrong, okay? You have to focus on the lifetime value of that consumer, okay? And lifetime value doesn't necessarily mean what have I achieved in this lifetime, it's understanding where that future's going to go to as well, okay? Now, there's a beautiful point that someone else made earlier, which was about that loyalty is the next transaction, it's not every transaction, okay? Okay, next one. Easy on the Kool-Aid. Do you remember this advert? This is where the phrase Kool-Aid comes from. Okay, so Kool-Aid came up with this concept of we want to sell more products, so we're going to coach you to drink a big full glass every day. It's very similar to what the toothpaste brands did, where they convinced you to brush your teeth twice a day instead of once. Then they convinced you that you needed a mouthwash as well. No one's really died from that at all. Okay, this is really important. So products make sales, not adverts. Everyone knows this quote? Henry Ford, if I'd asked the customer, they would have asked for faster horses, right? Now, I'm going to come back to this slide. Let's just jump forward here. Now, a traditional organization, when you've all built your companies, you started with a product, you started with a problem, you solved a need. You then found the market for that product, and you started selling that product, okay? What happens with the evolution of these brands and when they tend to come to us is that they're stuck in sales, and then sales start driving the product, okay? So you start having a sales team that starts defining what the product should be because they think they understand the market more. And then you see these disengaged founders and product designers, guys who genuinely didn't start their fashion label to make sales. They wanted that, but they started it because they had their own aesthetic. They understood that consumer. So we see a lot of organizations where it's marketing and sales that reach out to us as an agency. Can you come and fix this? Can you increase our conversion rate? We just want to sell more. Marketing does not sell products. The product sells itself, and the marketing is the tool to push that forward, okay? So all of these organizations, in fact, I'll tell you about one recently. I'm not sure if it got traction in Singapore, but a company called Allbirds. Heard of Allbirds? They were this Kiwi shoe company who invented shoes made out of wool. And they literally became a unicorn. They went from nothing to a multi-million dollar company, and they had one SKU, just available in a few different colors. They just went bananas, went absolutely crazy, the revenues they did. They then started letting the sales drive the product, and they started introducing new products into the market, like these terrible slippers that looked horrific, right? So if you're ever in this position where you find the sales team trying to coordinate what is happening with product, you need to reset and re-engage with that individual who understands that consumer better and re-centrify with that. Now, there's lots of examples here of businesses that had a great product and then fell in love with their product and drank their own Kool-Aid too much. We all know your Blockbusters and your Netflix. So I thought I'd give you a slightly different one. Anyone done a lot of travel and used the Lonely Planet book? Done that? So back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I traveled the world with my now wife, and we used these books, these Lonely Planet books, as like a Bible, right? These things, they were absolute gospel of what it meant to travel. They were proud of the independence of the knowledge that was in there. Their content was unique. They literally owned the independent travel advice market. TripAdvisor came along as a hobbyist site. This was started by an American guy in his garage. You know, this is literally like Amazon style. You know, he actually had no particular value in an analog world. Okay. Now, what Lonely Planet refused to accept is that backpackers and travelers, that mobile data would be easy. I pay $5 a day now to get unlimited data, right? These guys eventually, Lonely Planet, they sold for 180 million, and that's not bad going. I'd be happy with that. TripAdvisor, $6.5 billion market valuation today. And it's because they understood what the consumer need was. So halfway through this journey, Lonely Planet tried to pivot. And they saw the market was moving, and they tried to adjust to it. But their theory on how to adjust to it was, look, well, let's just keep the book and sell the book online. The problem was the book, okay? They had the content. They had all of the content. All they needed to do was make that content freely available and re-monetize those channels. So that's exactly what I mean by drinking your own Kool-Aid, because you've come so in love with your product and a market that was there 1-2 years ago, and you've refused to accept that that market is changing and shifting. Okay, it's another one of my particular bugbears, is KPI accountability. Now, this structure on the right is what we refer to as a hub and spoke model. It became the mainstay of how brands would use other partners in their space. So they would engage an SEO partner, media, tech, UX, content, social. You'd have a slightly different partner for each of those. And the theory being, which is quite a good theory, is that each one of those partners was a specialist in their niche, so they would provide an absolute reference point. Now, what happens is that us guys who run agencies are really smart pricks, and we work out how to make KPIs work for us, not work for you as company owners. So the SEO guy, he's gonna give you a KPI that's all about page rankings. The social guy is gonna talk to you all about engagement. Content guy is gonna give you reach. He's gonna promise you that stuff's gonna go viral. The UX guy will just tell you that it's not his fault, okay? The tech guys will tell you that we just followed the designs. The media team will just say, well, we followed your brief, and then we fed it to the content guys. That was their fault that the content didn't engage. What you have to do in this environment is you have to rationalize all of these KPIs into what's the truth for your company. And the truth is dollars, okay? So beware of those KPIs that are gamified towards the person who's doing that piece of work, and ensure that there is some intent base there to go through to an end result for the organization. Standardize your attribution, okay? We are really, really, really good at making statistics look good for us, okay? So if you go and look at a Facebook attribution and then a Google attribution, even a Pinterest attribution, you can even now do Snapchat attribution, okay? We will all tell you that we made the sale, okay? So you've got to standardize that, get that into one place so that that campaign doesn't look false. Focus on the long-term consumer value, talked about that. Plan for the dips, okay? Now, every single brand that has ever come to me, no one has ever come to me and said, hey, Todd, we've built this amazing business. Can you help us just sustain this growth? We're really happy with where we're at. Everyone's in this Gary Vaynerchuk, we must have vertical growth kind of attitude. It doesn't exist, right? What actually happens in a commerce world is you're kind of like that plateau, okay? It's lots of little steps, okay? It's grooves and growths. It's tipping points, essentially, inflection points, okay? So you have this major inflection point, you grow 20, 30, 40%, suddenly you're then flatlining for 6 months. So plan for those dips and plan for a sustained long-term business model, not a vertical growth model. I can take any one of those KPIs that we talked about, reach, engagement, conversion, sessions, average cart value. I can affect any of those for you. I can grow it almost immediately. But the way I'll grow it is by screwing one of the other ones, okay? You want to increase your conversion rate? Just go and block all your traffic from China and Russia. your conversion rate will almost double overnight because you've halved your sessions. Didn't change your dollars, but you've got to pay my bill now. You want to increase your engagement on social? I know some great click farms, right? I can get that engagement through the roof. None of them are buying, right? Got to translate it all back to those core dollars. The other one, growth isn't free. This is my other biggest bugbear with clients that come to us. They'll say, well, Todd, we did $5 million last year, so that's kind of guaranteed that we're going to do $5 million in 2019, right? And then it's your job to put the extra 20% on top. It's almost like I did the work in 2018, so I don't have to repeat that work in 2019. It's bullshit. Growth isn't free, okay? You've got to work just as hard for that same conversion and hope that people don't churn, okay? So, stay in the saddle. If any of you have watched the recent, there's a great series on Netflix by NWA and Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre, okay? Some great snippets in there for the history of business. Stay in the saddle. This is hard, right? This is not easy, right? Most important thing here, there's no silver bullets. Everyone has that assumption because we can swing one KPI, there's the assumption that that's a silver bullet. Doesn't translate into dollars. There are no silver bullets. It's bloody hard work. And it's a constantly changing landscape. There's decisions and architectures that we were building 18 months, 2 years ago that were really banging solutions. Today they're out of date and they're almost redundant and you almost feel daft that you implemented those solutions. So stay agile, stay in the saddle, keep working on it. Listen to the quiet voices, okay? You'll see a lot of people will react vehemently to anything that comes across in a social media channel. Someone might comment on there and they'll talk about sustainability or what's the provenance of your materials behind those products. They listen to the loudest voice, and the loudest voice is usually not your key consumer, okay? Listen to the quiet voices, ask questions, go back out to those consumers, use all the tools that have been shown there to continually communicate with that consumer. Give the consumer that control. Do not fall foul of this marketing technique, which is a hand behind the back and shoving them through to conversion, right? You might get a little quick spike, but you're not going to build that lifetime value off that consumer. So relinquish control. Self-disrupt, okay? So don't drink your own Kool-Aid. If you feel that the numbers are going down, if you feel that your product is losing relevancy, go back to the product. Don't just dump more cash in more marketing, okay? Everything revolves from that product, okay? There's a reason Kanye can sell a white t-shirt for $400, right? And it's nothing to do with the physical product. It's to do with Kanye, the product, okay? So it doesn't always translate into where that physical product is. It goes back to what was the DNA of that product that forced it to explode in the first place. So always get that product connectivity. Think bigger, okay? There's always another market out there. There's always another opportunity, okay? And most importantly, just get shit done, okay? Just keep grinding away at it. We see a lot of brands that are trying to make these huge, big 2, 3, 4 year play. It's a daily grind, okay? George and I have changed our organization recently where we don't allow anyone to project manage more than 3 months in advance, okay? So if you think that you've got a solution that is going to take you 9 months to get to market, the market's moved by the time you've delivered that solution, right? So 3-month window, stay in the saddle on that, and you'll generate some success. That's it. That's me. Thank you, guys.